Yes, what is up everyone? And everyone includes you new subscribers, people just passing by, and my OG subscribers, my original gangsters, because you guys know what's up. And welcome everyone to the best previews and predictions show on the internet, because I think it's the only previews and predictions show on the internet. And I'm totally cool with that. And we're going to start today with the Manchester Derby, City versus United. Now there are plenty of storylines to follow in this one, like City needing all 3 points to officially win the league, or Pep Guardiola beating his old nemesis Jose Mourinho to win his first Premier League trophy, or if City win, they will beat United's record from the 2000-2001 season of earliest title win ever by 1 week, both in terms of games played and in the calendar, or that with a win, they are on pace to break the record for most points in a season and most goals scored in a season, and about 17 other records that they're going to set. But the storyline I most focus on is how they're going to rebound mentally from the ass-kicking they took from Liverpool in the Champions League, because that won't be an easy one to come back from, and mainly because of how they lost and how they got outplayed and how they had no real solutions to the problems that Liverpool presented. Now, United probably won't come out in high press as well as Liverpool did, because that's not what Jose Mourinho does. But Mourinho should tell his players to try and kick City while they're down and go right at them, full speed, play in their half as much as possible, and don't let up. So the first 20 minutes of this game are very important. If United can score early, I can see them taking advantage of a vulnerable and probably tired City team who might not want to expend the energy that they would need to come back from being down a goal in this game, because they want to save it for leg 2 against Liverpool. But if City can score early, it could give them the boost that they need to finish the job and win the title in front of their supporters, which means, because I expect one of them to win, it's probably going to be a draw, but it'll be a dramatic draw with someone scoring late to tie it up. So I'll say 2-2. You guys knew that was coming. I always say 2-2. And up next, it's the Madrid derby between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. Even though neither one of these clubs has a chance to win the La Liga title this season, they still have bragging rights for the city and positioning in the table to contend for, as second place Atleti currently enjoy a 4-point lead over third place Real, which seems weird to say. I usually call them Madrid. Anyway, the big storyline for me in this one is whether Madrid manager Zinedine Zidane plays his starters or if he rests them ahead of leg 2 of their quarterfinal versus Juventus, because, well, I don't know if he needs to, because they have such a big lead against Juventus. But in La Liga, it doesn't matter if you finish 2nd or 4th, it's still automatic qualification to the Champions League, and that's already guaranteed for Los Blancos. Though if Zidane did rest his starters, it would help give some minutes to some players that have been playing really well as of late, like Gareth Bale, for example. And if they truly want to sell Bale or anyone else this summer, then potential buyers need to see that these players still have the goods. So I expect a mixed lineup of regulars and non-regulars from Zidane. However, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a walk in the park for Atleti, because those guys coming off the bench will obviously be super motivated to play well, because they might want to leave too. And so good performances usually allow that to happen. That said, even though they're 9 points back of Barcelona, Atleti aren't mathematically out of the title race yet, so they still have a reason to go for it. And because they have the best defensive record in the league, they've only given up 14 goals in their 30 league games. I'm sure they'll be up for winning 1-0 like they always do, which in actuality, and I looked this up, of their 30 league games, they have 8 1-0 wins, which is close to half of their wins in the league this season. So they clearly know how to grind out results, and they have the legend Kevin Gameiro on their team. So come on, Gameiro, score the game winner for the 2nd week in a row. But Madrid, Real, have this crazy super positive we can't be beat Champions League buzz about them right now, which I assure you is a lot cooler than the Europa League buzz that Atleti has at the moment. So I think Real wins the Madrid derby 2-1 with Gareth Bale scoring the winner. And next up, it's the Merseyside derby between Everton and Liverpool. The last time these two played against each other in the league, it was back in December, and it ended 1-1, with Wayne Rooney canceling out a first half goal by, surprise, surprise, Mohamed Salah at Anfield. But a lot has changed since then. First, Liverpool beat Everton in the FA Cup a few weeks later after this game, which ended that dream of winning a trophy for the Toffees. But let's be honest, they were never going to win a trophy this season. Second, the Reds have pretty much clinched a spot in the top 4, so they can relax about that and leave that pressure to the side. And they also have a nice 3-0 lead over Man City in the Champions League quarterfinals, so they could relax about that. but I wouldn't suggest it. So overall, the Reds and their supporters should feel very good about how their season is playing out at the moment. And in some ways, and this is third, Everton and their supporters should feel pretty good about where they are too, especially after how their season started and how it's transpired since then, which in summation has seen them fight through a ton of inconsistency and managerial changes to be in the top half of the table at this point in the season. Pretty sure they sit in ninth. And with a relatively easy schedule to finish the season, no teams in the top 6 after this derby, their big challenge will be how to fix things during the summer. So fourth and finally, and about this game in particular, I think that Liverpool is going to rest a lot of their regular starters so they can be ready for leg 2 against City a few days later, while Everton, who are playing this one at home at Goodison Park, will want to end their season on a high note. And I think beating their biggest rivals and one of the hottest teams in all of Europe will do the trick. And even though it won't be pretty, I think Everton are going to find a way to win by a goal. So maybe it's 1-0, maybe it's 2-1, maybe it's 3-2, I don't know. But I think they're going to do the business. Also, here's some other games I'll be keeping my eyes on this weekend. Oh yeah, I'm going to watch them all. Oh. Like Atlanta United versus LAFC, which is last year's super hyped expansion team, versus this year's super hyped expansion team in the super hyped expansion derby, which I'm sure makes Minnesota United, the other expansion team from last year, feel a little left out. But Minnesota, here's the deal. You either got to have a brand new stadium, which you don't, or you got to sign Zlatan Ibrahimovic, which you didn't, or go undefeated, which you haven't, or play in a market that's warmer, which you don't, or any of those 4 would probably help. Anyway, I want to see how LAFC responds to losing to a 3-0 lead last week in the second half against the LA Galaxy to lose 4-3, because that has to with your head. And also, I want to see how Atlanta performs at home because they are so good when they play in front of their supporters. And then I'll be spying on Toluca versus Tigres, because if the top of the table leaders in Mexico want to really be considered as contenders for winning the league title this season, they have to prove it against the defending champions Tigres, who for me set the bar for quality in Liga MX. So this should be a great game. And then I'll be checking out the second leg of the Paulista State Championship in Brazil between Palmeiras and Corinthians, because Palmeiras shocked everyone, and maybe even themselves, when they went into Corinthians' fortress of a stadium and emerged with a 1-0 win in leg 1. So we'll see if Palmeiras can hold on to the lead at home. And then these things will be on the lookout for FC Cologne versus Mainz, because Mainz, who are currently in 16th place in the Bundesliga, which is also known as the relegation playoff spot, hit the road to face Cologne, who are in 17th place, which is also known as the automatic relegation spot. So with only 6 games left to go in the season, and with Cologne 6 points behind Mainz, this is a must-win game for them, or they are definitely getting relegated. And just imagine playing with this much at stake. So much pressure. I mean, I would love it because I loved playing with a lot of pressure, but it's not for everybody. And then I'll be spying on Spal, because they're on a 5-game unbeaten run in Italy, which has seen them rise from the ashes and out of the relegation zone by 2 points. So I want to see if they can keep this miracle going against Atalanta at home this weekend. And then I will not be blinking when I watch Porto play host to Aves. I don't know how to say it, because Porto are in the midst of a complete bottle job that all started after they lost to Liverpool in the Champions League. Because since then, they've lost 2 out of their last 3 in the league, scoring only 2 goals in those 3 matches as well. And now Benfica, their hated rivals, have taken over the top spot for the first time all season, and there's only 6 games left to go. But Porto does get to play against Benfica in Lisboa next week, which should determine who wins the league. So as long as Porto don't look ahead to that game, then I don't expect them to drop any points this weekend. Of course, given Porto's recent form, you never know. And then I'm going to take a peek at AZ Alkmaar versus PSV Eindhoven, because AZ is in 3rd with an outside chance of catching 2nd place Ajax for that last Champions League spot. But for that to happen, they're going to have to start by beating the current best team in Holland, PSV. So, in my humble opinion, not only are they going to need a little luck, but also some poor form from Ajax over these last few weeks of the season to pull off yet another miracle for one of these teams that I'm talking about. And I'm not sure either of those 2 things are going to happen. But in this sport, you never know, so we'll see how they perform this weekend. And then my TV and I are going to go down under to watch the Western Sydney Wanderers host my Brisbane Roar. And actually, I still need to buy a Roar jersey to support my favorite A-League team. I should do that soon. Anyway, with only 2 games remaining, this result will most likely determine who gets that final playoff spot, which the Roar currently have because they're 2 points ahead of the Wanderers for that last playoff spot, like I just mentioned. So this is the biggest game for both clubs this season, which means it should be a cracker. Also, for the person who said they don't want me to scream roar anymore, which out of respect for the request, I haven't up until this point, but this one is for you. So let's go. And finally, let's talk a little Millwall versus Bristol City, because these two championship clubs are both on 62 points, and the team that they need to catch to get into the promotion playoff in 6th place is only 1 point above them. So talk about a massive game. This one is going to be unreal. And I like Millwall to do the business. Not only because they're at home, but because they haven't lost in the league since January 1st, whereas Bristol City have only won 3 times since January 1st. So we could argue that they are in a bit of a free fall at the moment. But that could all change if they can somehow pull off the 3 points here. Either way, you should all make some time to watch this one if you can, because I think it's going to be really good. So all right, that's it. It is over. That is all I got. So pick the right score for, let's say the Manchester Derby, City versus United, and you will be entered to win some Warm Baller swag. Also, I'll be in Boston this weekend for PAX East in the first ever eMLS Cup. So if you're around, hit me up. And then I'll be in Manchester next week for the big FIFA 18 FUT Champions Cup. So can you say pickup game, anyone? I think you can. Anyway, please, for me, have a good or bad weekend. Later.